So Kwikset Smartlocks have been a great addition to apartment communities, as it allows you to rekey quickly, which that means it should give you no excuse for not providing a rekey at every turn, and to make sure that resident security is number one. They are good, but there is a problem that they do get hung up, either when you're rekeying them or just the elements get to it and the key that you originally used on it is no longer working. So I'm going to show you how to get past that if you don't have the rekeying cradle, because I usually do mine out in the field, and it is helpful to know this. First step is to take the whole cylinder out of the door. That's pretty self-explanatory. If you can't do that, then you probably shouldn't be doing this. The next step is to be taking this ring, this E-ring, off of the lock, which I use my pliers, my needle nose, and I always make sure to bump my hand against my other hand so that even if I slip, it's not going to go into my fingertips. You ask how I figured that out. Many times I've jabbed in my hands before I started doing that. So I basically put some pressure here and start popping that ring out like that. Those two pieces are going to fall out, which are very important. Don't lose. We'll deal with those later. That E-ring can come off. The next step is to take this clip off here, which is the same method. You're just going to take your needle nose and put a little bit of pressure until that ring starts to pop up, and you can grab it right there. That will allow you to take out the entire cylinder from the housing. This also has a little washer on it. Don't lose that. That's going to go in behind that E-ring. Okay, this lock is different because it doesn't use typical pins like a traditional lock does. It uses these wafers that slide back and forth instead of up and down on a traditional. And these little wafers are in these grooves here. There's 5 of them, and they prevent the cylinder from turning inside this housing, and it also keeps it from coming out. So in order to get this out of this, we have to get these out of the way. So what I do is I hold the lock like this between my thumb and my 2 fingers, and then I'm going to push with this finger here, and using my rekeying tool I can start pushing on these pins until I find the right one that's holding it in place, and this one looks like it's going to be the last pin, or that last wafer. And so once that goes too far, then I start using these two to pull it out. So we can just keep pushing on these until I find the right one, and that should come all the way out. Okay, that will now come out. Just hold it all together. Okay, and I should have said at the beginning, don't do this over top of dark carpet or even thick cut carpet, anything where if these little pins or springs were to fly out, they would disappear forever. Don't do it over a drain or anything like that, because they can, anything with a spring can bounce off. So I'm going to grab this lock here, and then we want to remove this whole carriage from the top. So I'm actually going to just break it apart gently, and it's got all the new oil on it, so it should all stay together. That's fine there. We're just going to set that over here, don't have to mess with it. And then this is going to have all the pieces in it, and if you look, it's got all these wafers. It's really hard to see, and they're very tiny, but these little wafers right here are what do all of the locking action. So I'm going to, what I want to do is get these all back in their grooves and then line them up. Each wafer has a little groove on it, and there is a groove on the housing of that carriage that goes right here. We want to line up all those wafers, or should I say all those notches, with that groove there. Should be able to just run that through there. Okay, and that part's. All right, the next step is to put the carriage back onto the cylinder, and I would recommend having your new key ready to go, so you don't have to fish for it once you've got this put in place. I don't want to flip this carriage over, because if I do and the little wafers are not set in place with the oil and all that, they will fall out. So I flip this piece over and I bring it up at an angle and put that spring up against the edge, and I push it up against that wall there. Then I can set it in place and wiggle it around until it locks in. Come on. There we go. Okay, and I want to keep that depressed that direction while I get my new key. I'm going to put that all the way in nice and secure, and I'm going to use my thumb to come all the way back with it and go back and forth with it. Sometimes you have to make it click, and it should be able to go back and forth with ease, and that has everything lined up. Okay, next part, with your key still in the lock, I'm going to put this in the next part of the cylinder, which has this top groove up here, or it's not a groove, it's that little platform, and then you've got a groove on the bottom which this will slide into. Okay, that's good there. And then before doing anything else, I like to go ahead and set my E-ring, put my washer on, and then you can start the process of putting the E-ring in, but don't put it all the way in, because then you're going to take these two pieces here. It's kind of hard to do while filming this. Okay, that's going to drop right over top of it. And then that E-ring is going to drop into the groove to hold all that in place. Now I should be able to pull this key out without fear that it's going to come apart. Okay, and it's operating nice and smooth as well. Okay, then the next step, very simple, slide the cylinder back into the housing and take this clip here, that guy, and it's going to just slide back onto there, very easy. Do that with your fingers and you are all good to go. Now, I will say, I'm a big believer of using brand new keys to apartments so that I know that no resident has a key to the apartment that I just turned. So I always like to keep a box of fresh keys, whether you buy them or whether you take them out of locks that came with a couple extra keys or something like that, or maybe if you're putting a whole new set on an apartment and you only need one set of keys, you can take those others, throw them into a box, and then they're randomly used for the next apartment. So this is a quick way to a quick lock that can help you accomplish that goal, so that we make sure that the residents are safe. All right, thanks for watching.